they're going to pay our town supposedly some money every year for
Oh,
this.
and so they,
It's tax money.
All over that next.
It's tax money.
Tax money.
They have to pay.
Well, I mean, it's tax,
utility
sure,
tax.
and we don't get the largest sum of it, but nonetheless, I mean, I think, in a sense, that will be their argument. I mean, it's not a good argument for all the reasons, but nonetheless, that would be their argument.
right, yeah, no, and I mean, taxes, I mean, yeah, everybody has to, pay the.
Right,
pay, so
right, but it's
yeah,
not,
But,
yeah.
so.
I have a process question. Just thinking down the road, as this progresses, if it ends up that, we have to file an appeal and we're going to take them to court, does all of that delay construction?
I guess the answer, or the lawyer answer, it does depend. I guess, I'll walk you through the rest of the process and then tell you what happens at the end. So basically, you're going to file your interventions. The environmental assessment will be issued at some time. You have an opportunity to comment on that. Then within 90 days, maybe longer, FERC will come out with its decision. I saw you had a chart up there before. After FERC makes this decision, you have 30 days to file a rehearing with FERC. That's another very important thing that you have to do before you can get it to a court, is to file a rehearing request. And so you file that, and then maybe a few more months. Now, when you file the rehearing request, you have to ask for a stay in order to have the company not begin construction. Now, there are also, usually when the application issues, there are also other limitations sometimes on the company's ability to begin construction, and that depends on how quickly the case has been rammed through. Now, in this case, I also noticed there are a lot of state and federal permits that this company needs to get. They need to get a Clean Water Act permit. There's a list of them in the environmental assessment. So what FERC will often say, if the state has not acted and given, a Clean Water permit or a Clean Air Act permit, FERC will usually go ahead and issue the certificate anyway, but say to the company, you can't build until those permits are issued. Now, actually, my argument, my feeling is also that that's another legal issue. My feeling is that, the way the law is written on something like Clean Water Act or another state requirement is it says you cannot issue a federal permit until you have your state water quality certification. But, FERC has come up with this solution, which is really inappropriate for a lot of reasons, because once they issue the certificate, FERC is supposed to be the arbiter of the public interest in these cases. That's why they have the authority to make these decisions. So when they issue the decision, they're basically saying to the state, okay, state, you go ahead, you go and deny that water quality certificate, but this is all going to be on your head if this thing doesn't get approved. Whereas if FERC were to wait and collect all the evidence, they could say, okay, the state doesn't like it, so we can't issue the permit. It's a very different posture. But so anyway, so the company's ability to start construction after the certificate issues will really depend on, if there are any conditions it needs to comply with in advance. And like I said, sometimes they need to get another state certificate. FERC may say, if your town says that they have to go through this zoning process and it hasn't finished, it's possible FERC could say that, to the company, you can't start construction until the town is finished with the master planning or until they finish this application process. It's not definite that they'll say that, but it's possible. Many times if the project is going to go through a landowner's property, they have to submit site-specific plans before they can start doing construction. So it's hard to say whether they could start construction or not, because I don't know how much of this stuff is going to be done by the time the certificate issues. So, but even if everything is issued and you decide to go through the appeals process, you can ask FERC to stay the process. And if FERC doesn't stay the process, you can ask the court to stay the process and to stay construction until these issues are decided. And, sometimes the court will grant a stay, and sometimes they'll let them go ahead. And the company also, that is one situation where the company does have some risk. As rich as the company is, they don't necessarily want to go ahead with construction if they think there is a chance that they're going to have to change the proposal. So they may decide to hold off on construction if that's what happens. Now, if they think, you know, they may also balance their risk and say, you know, we, you know, feel like we can go ahead with this. So it is hard to say at the end of the process what will happen with the construction, and, you know, will depend on how many conditions they have to satisfy. So, okay, well, if there are no other questions, you know, you guys are in good shape, but you have your work cut out for you. It's a large undertaking to participate in these things and to, you know, to try to fight them. And, you know, more communities are doing it now. I mean, there hasn't been a lot of success in the past, but part of that is because communities didn't organize, they weren't familiar with the FERC rules, they weren't really fighting on equal footing. And so, you know, and a lot of the arguments that they made was just able to dispense with because it was just too late, or it wasn't, you know, a comment made, you know, in a timely manner. So, you know, it's a different posture when you are participating in the process and, you know, following what the rules are and, you know, providing a lot of information. But it's, you know, at the end of the day, you know, FERC wants to, you know, I guess at some point, you know, they're going to make a decision, and, you know, many times, if this is not necessarily the best choice, they may still go with it if, you know, the other choices don't look as good. I mean, at some point, somebody is going to make a decision about putting a pipeline through somewhere. So the best thing you can do is, like I said, to come up with the alternatives, you know, to what they proposed, and see if people can sort of sit down and come up with a solution that works for everybody. I guess, you know, you can't completely stop progress, but at the same time, it doesn't necessarily have to be done in a way that's not compatible with your community and your values. And so I think that, you know, that would be a very good result if you can just, you know, get this maybe changed or done in a way that doesn't have those same impacts. You know, don't necessarily, you know, having the community rallies and things like that is very important to, you know, to get local news, to get people engaged. But, you know, it's not necessarily a good idea to raise expectations to make, you know, to make it seem like the whole pipeline is going to shut down. I mean, the pipeline is going to go through some way, somehow, but it doesn't have to be in a way that impacts you in this way. And so I think you just want to be able to manage people's expectations to participate intelligently and give as much information as they can to try to, you know, come to a resolution that is not going to, you know, to have this type of impact in a community where it really shouldn't be. So, so anyway, you know, you can feel free to, you know, email me questions, email me questions. I'm happy to answer questions, because there's, you know, there's not a lot of people who are familiar with this process, and it's just very important for, you know, for people to be able to have a voice and to be able to preserve the values of their community. So that's one of the reasons why I, you know, do this stuff. And I've been at FERC for so long. A lot of these things, you know, it might take, you know, you like a long time to try to figure out it. It doesn't take me very long to be able to answer these questions. It's not a big deal to email me with questions that you have, and see, you know, where things go from here.
Thank you.
Thank you.